Welcome to the JP8 Report. This is James Pierce with the JP8 Report, episode 330. Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to the JP8 Report. I'm glad y'all are tuning in. Lots of notes here for me to go through today. I don't know if I'm going to get through it all. We will do our best. But today is the 13th, Friday the 13th. But tomorrow is Valentine's Day, right, guys? Before we get started, don't forget to click that follow button. Don't forget to click that follow button. My wife is babysitting one of our friends' little son, and I can hear him in the background. That's okay. And then click that like button, and then please use the chat button and chat with me. If I don't know if retired Rob 53 is going to be on here today, but he usually helps me out in the chat. But if not, if I see you in there, I will try to say something or type. I'm going to put something in right now. Everyone put an American flag in the chat as you're watching. You know the chat stays up while the podcast is going on, but after the podcast goes away, the chat closes up and it disappears. And nobody ever sees it again. All right. So that being said, where are we going with this? Oh, yeah. All right. We'll get to everything else. I have a letter for the day, February 13th, 1776, from Alexander McDougall to John Jay. Okay. Dear sir, yesterday we made a convention. I have the pleasure to inform you it will be a full one at a day or two. They have such a spirit as will maintain the reputation of the colony and the common union. When Mr. Dean was there in the course of the winter of the business of the Navy, I suggested to him the propriety of getting a copy of Lieutenant O'Brien's Naval Evolutions to be reprinted. He approved it, but I could not then obtain a copy. I have since procured one and sent it this morning by Colonel Morris to Congress, which I beg them to accept. As this is the only tract on this subject in our language, but one other copy of it in this city, I think it should be reprinted at public expense. If this should be the opinion of Congress, great care ought to be observed in the work. The copy should be corrected by the before it begins, and if the work in it is not clear, and as those who it is designated are not to be the most intelligent, the end of the republication will not be answered. From the dimensions transmitted to New York for the building of the ships in our colony, I fear the construction of them will be improper for the force designated for them. And the modern frigates, English as well as French, will carry 9 or 12 pounders and have their ports 7 feet distance in the clear from the sill to sill of the ports of each port from 2 feet to 2 feet 3 inches clear, and a bow gun standing in the proper place not farther from the scarf. I don't understand Navy language, but this is not from the straight part of the keel. And aftermost gun is generally the distance one from one port from the skag from the aftermost part of the keel, from whence it will necessarily flow through the whole length of the keel, and from the equally and dimension of the ports, from the distance from the number of guns a ship is intended to carry from the lower deck. This would be clearly understood by the rough diagram on the other side. My solicitude from the reputation of the United Colonies is the motive that induced me to make this hasty address in convention, which I hope will plead my excuse. I am great truth and regard, and as sir, your affectionate humble servant, Alexander McDougall. I guess he wants to try to sell the colonies some Navy ships. All right. Pardon me just for a second here. I need to check one thing out. Alrighty. That's one of my really, really good friends. I'm not going to call him back, so I'm going to text him real quick. In my podcast right now, I will call in 1 hour. Sorry about that, people. All right. Good guy. He's a real good guy. All right. So, he's a precinct chair just like I am. And he's writing me back as we speak. It's part of that. Cool. Thanks, brother. Okay, cool. Larry, if you're watching, thank you very much. All right, man. He's one of the best precinct chairs that I've seen and been around. My next letter is for tomorrow, 14th of February, 1776. Though I beg you to lay before Congress the enclosed letter from Lord Drummond to General Robertson, which came to my hands a few days ago in order to be sent to Boston, as I never heard of his lordship being vested with power to treat the Congress upon the subject of our grievances, nor of his having laid any propositions before them for an accommodation. I confess it surprised me much, and be led to form various conjectures of his motives and intended application to General Howe and Admiral Shudham for a passport for the safe conduct of the deputies as Congress might appoint for negotiating terms of reconciliation between the Great Britain and us. Whatever his intentions are, however benevolent his designs may be, I confess that this letter has embarrassed me much, and I am not without. And I am not without suspicion of its meaning more than the generous purposes it professes. I should suppose that if the mode for negotiation which he points out, should be adopted, which I hope will never be thought of, that it ought to be fixed and settled previous to any application of this sort, and the best that his conduct is, this instance, is premature and officious, and leading to the consequences of a fatal and injurious nature to the rights of this country. His zeal and desire, perhaps his amicable and constitutional adjustments taking place, may have suggested and precipitated the measure. Be that as it may, I thought it of too much importance to suffer it to go in without having the express direction of Congress for that purpose, and that it was my indissoluble duty to transmit them the original and to make such interpretations and inferences as they may think right. Messengers Willard and Child were sent to Nova Scotia in pursuance of the resolve of the Congress have just returned and made the report, which I do myself the honor to enclose to you. They have not answered the purposes of their commission by any means, as they only went to but a little way into that country and found their intelligence upon the information of others. You will see the reasons they assign in excuse of justification of their conduct in the report itself. Last night, a party of regulars said to be about 500 landed on Dorchester Neck and burnt some of the houses there, which were of no value to us, nor would they have been unless we take post there. Then might have been of some service. A detachment went after them as soon as the fire was discovered, but before it could arrive, they had executed their plan and made their retreat. Enclosed is the letter for David Franks Esquire from Chamir in Boston upon the subject of victualling such as the king's troops as may be prisoners within the limits of his contract, which I beg the favor of you to deliver him, and that make proper agents to be may be appointed by him to see that it's done. I should wish too that Congress would fall upon some mode of supplying the officers with such money as they may really stand in need of, and dispute proper persons for that purpose, and furnishings the privates with some such clothing as may be absolutely necessary. I am applied to and worried at their repeated requests. In some instances, I have desired that the committees to give the prisoners within their appointments what they should judge absolutely necessary for their support, as the only means in my power of relieving their distress. But I imagine that if there were persons to be superintended this business, that their wants would be better attended to, and many exorbitant charges prevented and saved to the continent, and the whole would have been brought into proper account. I am, sir, with great esteem and regard, your most humble servant, George Washington. And then P.S. I send a return of the strength of the regiments. All right. From General George Washington to John Hancock, President of the Second Continental Congress. All right. Well, pretty good letters, huh? That takes us through tomorrow with America 250. All righty. So I'm going to talk about Dalmatians real quick. All right. So Dalmatian burger joint, Dalmatian Texas burgers. They're smash burgers and dogs right here in Copper's Cove. And they, man, there's a lot of background noise on my computer. They make, they're open Tuesdays through Saturdays for dinner from 5:30 to 7. And then for lunch, they're open Monday through Saturday from 11 to 2. And all their ingredients are homemade. They're on 190 on the west side of Cove, behind Bush's Chicken. So give them a trial, okay, guys? They would like your business. All right, I'm back. So there. And then we got this right here. All right. So they still have not found Nancy Guthrie. It's crazy. So I'm going to read some updates from the web real quick. I'm going to put her picture is now worth $100,000 for the person on the right and for her recovery. All right. So memorize the picture. Like I said this morning, the backpack is from Walmart. It costs $10.88. It's from a company called Ozark. And just look at his build and see if someone that you know looks like that is out of the sight for the last few days or upwards to 2 weeks, because tomorrow night makes 2 weeks. All right. So go back. Okay. People keep texting me. All right. Stop it. All right. So, well, let's see what we have so far. I just refreshed the screen to see what we can come up with. I'm sorry if I'm a little bit distracted right now. Let's see. There. 55 minutes ago, the Fox team drone has captured activity around the pool where Nancy Guthrie's home is in Arizona. There was a sheriff deputy and 2 people in the backyard of the property near the pool. And then, let's see. Sheriff Nanos told Fox News correspondent Matt Finn. Wait a minute, there's breaking news. Oh yeah, great. Virginia Supreme Court greenlights controversial Democrat-backed redistricting command. So what would, I guess the Politburo backs the Democratic People's Republic of Virginia in their quest to illegally change their constitution, just like California did, to kick out as many Republicans as they possibly can. I really hope that referendum fails in the state of Virginia, because it needs to be appealed to the United States Supreme Court. Okay, so back to Miss Guthrie. Pima County Sheriff Chris Nanos told Fox News Matt Finn on Friday his office has not found a glove at Nancy Guthrie's home and that they are working well with the FBI. We have no glove. We've never had a glove on that property, Nanos said regarding some efforts of Guthrie's property in Tucson. Nanos said the Pima County Sheriff's Department is working well with the FBI after federal law enforcement source accused him of blocking FBI from obtaining key evidence in the case. Nanos told Fox News it's absolutely crazy that he wouldn't seek the FBI's help and partnership. The Monday after Miss Guthrie disappeared, Nanos said he called the FBI and pushed back on claims he was reluctant to include the FBI, and said, for example, they quickly let the FBI take lead on the ransom notes because the FBI is better at that with their technology. Nanos said that the office sent evidence in that case to a private lab in Florida from the beginning, and that Guthrie's family's DNA and other DNA swabs are at the facility. We trust that FBI's crime lab. We've used them before, but in this case, we started with with that lab. It's just that simple. The sheriff said we believe it's a kidnapping in the Guthrie case. It refreshed on me. He said nobody has ever been eliminated. when asked if anyone's been ruled out. All right. Matt Flynn filed that report. Let's see. And I read that one. Let's go back to the top and see what refreshed. No. Okay. So that is the current situation. $100,000 reward. And this sheriff has said there was no glove in the house, and he's never had any problems working with the FBI. It's a he said, she said type of environment. So we will check that out. All right. So next on the JP8 report is the title of my podcast is Judges Don't Pick U.S. Attorneys. POTUS does. All right. And that is true. All right. So what that means is President Donald Trump's administration fired a U.S. attorney the same day he was sworn in for his role this week. So you might be asking, why? Why would the president bother to nominate someone just to fire him, right? Well, it's simple. A board of judges for the U.S. District Court for the Northern District of New York tapped Donald T. Kinsella to serve as U.S. Attorney to the Northern District of New York, according to a court announcement that said Kinsella was sworn in on Wednesday, but Kinsella was then booted from his post on Wednesday. Deputy U.S. Attorney General Todd Blanche was blunt about the firing in a Wednesday Post X. Quote, "Judges don't pick U.S. attorneys. At POTUS does. See Article 2 of our Constitution. You're fired," Donald Kinsella, Blanche wrote. In a Thursday statement, the court noted yesterday the United States District Court appointed a United States attorney for the Northern District of New York, a position that was vacant. And then they quoted, "The court exercises authority under 28 U.S. Code 546, which empowers the district court to appoint a United States attorney to serve until the vacancy is filled. The United States Constitution expressly provides for this grant of authority under Article 2, Section 2, Clause 2, which states in part, Congress may by law vest the appointment of officials such as United States attorneys in the court of law. By the end of the day, Deputy Director Presidential Personnel Morgan DeWitt Snow notified Mr. Kinsella that he was removed from the judicial appointed United States attorney without explanation. The court thanks Donald Kinsella for his willingness to return to public service so that this vacancy could be filled with a qualified, experienced former prosecutor, and for his years of distinguished work on behalf of the citizens of the Northern District of, and it should say New York. Yep. And then Kinsella was tapped. Okay, so interim, I'll read this last paragraph. The outlet said the U.S. District Judge Loma Schofield ruled that the Department of Justice took improper action to keep Sarconi in the role past the 120-day limit of U.S. attorneys who the Senate has not confirmed. He demoted himself to first assistant while waiting an appeal on the judge's decision. Okay, so like you said, you can only be an acting U.S. attorney for 120 days. But this is the crazy part. I don't know how many times I've got to say this, and I don't know how many times that dancing bananas, okay. I don't know how many times that Vince has to say it. John Thune, can you please discontinue the use of the blue slips? Because the president will never, ever, ever post um, a conservative lawyer, U.S. attorney, to any state that has a Democrat senator in it because they won't allow it. And then if you're listening for one of the first times, you haven't heard me talk about the blue slips. It's a procedure where a senator can object to the nomination of a judge or a U.S. attorney in their state that they're elected from. It's what do you call it? An extra constitutional perk that a senator has to prevent the president from being able to do his job. So all he can do is appoint interim U.S. attorneys until they can get someone liberal enough to represent people in New York State. And that includes federal judges also. So unless you want to continue down this pathway of, and I'm going to talk about him if I have time today, Judge Boasberg at it again, and he needs to be impeached and removed from his jury bench because this is absolutely ridiculous. This judge is the outlet said U.S. District Judge Loma Schofield. Okay, guarantee that's a liberal judge. Guarantee. I hadn't even looked it up. And I'm not going to distract from us talking about this. And so if you agree that blue slips should be taken out of the United States Senate so the president can actually do his job and appoint people to protect us, right? And the interests of the United States government, put an American flag in there, right? Put it, and in the comment section, I don't promote the comment section as much as I should. In the comment section, put in there, please remove blue slips. Okay? Please remove blue slips. Matter of fact, I'll do the same thing. Oh, it won't let me. Well, it will. Basically, let's see. Please remove the blue slips. Backspace. Yeah, Rumble will only let me do the comments like one time, and they can't replicate my comment. But because this is mainly for people watching the podcast to be able to use comments, right? But I can put it in there. I put it in there. Please remove the blue slips. You can do that there, and if you want to also do it while the chat is going on, put American flags in there, you can do that too. This is totally ridiculous. We're never going to have a functioning government until we get a hold of our judicial system, because these judges are running interference over and over and over again. Okay? The Todd Blanche is exactly right. The president hires U.S. attorneys. The federal judges don't. Right? They do not do that at all. And like I said in the comment section, put in there, please remove the blue slips. So with what I just read as a breaking news, let's go check what that is. This is going to be straight from the web. Let's see here. Refresh. It's got to be at the top. There it is. Okay, this is the deal about Virginia. Maybe. If it loads. There he goes. In a crucial decision on Friday, the Virginia Supreme Court ruled that a high-stakes referendum scheduled for April 21st on congressional redistricting can go forward, in a victory for Democrats in Virginia, who are fast-tracking a proposed new congressional map that would give the competitive state up to 4 more left-leaning U.S. House district seats in time for this year's midterm elections. Virginia is the latest battleground, with Florida on deck in the ongoing crucial battle between President Donald Trump and Republicans versus Democrats to alter the congressional maps ahead of November's elections. Republicans are defending the razor-thin majority in the midterms, and Democrats need a net gain of just 3 seats to win back control of the chamber. That means the district's effort in redistricting efforts in Virginia and other states may very well decide which party controls the House next year. And then they're showing a picture of Abigail Spanberger. She looks like Cruella de Vil. Rob, since you're on here, do you agree that Abigail Spanberger looks like Cruella de Vil? Give me a yes, no, American flag, or whatever. But she's the leader of the Democratic People's Republic of Virginia. Okay? But the proposed map in Virginia, which a Democrat-controlled legislature is expected to give final approval in the coming days, followed by Democrat Abigail Spanberger signing it, needs approval of voters in the Commonwealth. Republicans have challenged the validity of the referendum, arguing that Democrats had erred procedurally when the legislature approved amendments to the state constitution, and last month a lower court ruled in the GOP's favor. But the ruling by the state Supreme Court greenlights the ballot measure, which asks voters to give the legislature, rather than the Virginia current nonpartisan commission, redistricting power through the 2030 election. How can you temporarily suspend your constitution? That's some lame-brain Soviet-style brinkmanship that's going on there. Today's order is a huge win for Virginia voters. A spokesman for Democrat-aligned Virginians for fair elections. The court made it clear that nothing in this case stops the April 21st referendum from moving forward, and that Virginians will have the final say. Early voting for the referendum starts March 6th. A month and a half of early voting. Are you out of your mind? Longtime Republican lawmaker Terry Kilgore, looking ahead of the referendum vote, told reporters, "We're going to make our case to Virginians that this is unfair, this is unprecedented, and quite frankly, it's against the law, we believe." Friday's ruling on the referendum does not mean the legal challenges are over. Democrats are still defending their ability to redraw the maps, and the state Supreme Court may schedule arguments in that case. Last October, Democrats took an unprecedented step to illegally pass a constitutional amendment at the 11th hour. And the judiciary agreed, and the Supreme Court has taken up and fast-tracked that case. Make no mistake, the law will prevail. Republican State Senator Ryan McDougal, the state Senate minority leaders, told Fox News Digital. Republicans charged that the Democrats' redistricting effort is an unconstitutional power grab. Virginians for Fair Maps, a Republican-aligned group that opposes the redistricting push, has highlighted that Virginians came together to pass bipartisan redistricting reform, a process that took the power out of the politicians' hands. Now, politicians in Richmond want to undo that progress. And the RNC has ruled that the Democrat push in Virginia is a power grab, but Democrats have countered it is an unnecessary step to balance out of partisan gerrymandering already implemented in other states by the GOP. Let me include these nearsighted Virginians, Democrats, on one thing: the difference between Virginia and Texas. Okay, in Texas, our state legislature has full authority to redistrict anytime they want, in which they did. in Virginia, y'all passed a law for your constitution that takes redistricting out of the power of the legislature and gave it to a redistricting commission, which only can meet once every 10 years. So you tell me who's breaking the law, all right? Aimed at to prevent that what happening in the first term of the White House when Democrats reclaimed the House majority in the 2018 midterms. Trump last spring first floated the idea of rare but not heard of mid-decade redistricting. And it goes there, it keeps going, anything. And then about California. So we will see what's up with this. This is unbelievable that well, you know what? It's a state Supreme Court, so I could see how that would happen. But this is going to go to the Supreme Court, and then also the Supreme Court has a ruling with the Voters' Rights Act about majority minority districts again, and that'll be ruled in favor of Republicans to take the undemocratic, racial-based congressional districts out of alignment, okay? Because nothing should be based on race. We're all Americans. We're all Americans, right? Okay. So, see, Democratic People's Republic of Virginia. I just talked about that. And let's see, I talked about the U.S. Attorney thing. And then the next thing I wanted to speak about is, what time we got here? Oh, it's already 12:37, man. Okay. Inflation eased in January, but remained well above Fed's target. I don't know what they're talking about that, but so the consumer price index rate fell from 2.7% to 2.4%. Breaking news. Hold on. Oh, okay. The president's talking at Fort Bragg, honoring some special forces soldiers. Okay. So CPI, Consumer Price Index, which is the inflation rate, right, for consumers, it fell from 2.7% to 2.4%. They projected it to be at 2.5, which is a total victory from the president. But the knucklehead journalists or so-called journalists wanted to say, "Oh, it's way above the Federal Reserve's rate of the rate of inflation." Stupid. This is a success for the president. Quit dissing him on everything good he's trying. The inflation rate dropped from 2.7% down to 2.4%. That's over a quarter of a point. Now, if Jerome Powell and his cronies in the Federal Reserve would have lowered interest rates the whole half point that they were trying to do, this wouldn't have been happening, because we would have had a higher GDP rate and people would have been able to spend more money, which would cause the inflation rate to drop even more, because the way we're bringing in tariffs and stuff. But, they don't want to see what's really going on. So, the Fox business, inflation remained elevated in January, yeah, sure, as the pace of consumer price growth stayed above the Federal Reserve's target rate as policymakers weigh affordability concerns. The Bureau of Labor Statistics on Friday said that Consumer Price Index, a broad measure of how much everyday goods like gasoline, groceries, rents, costs, rose 0.2% on a monthly basis in January and trended down to 2.4% year over year. That was down slightly from 2.7% in December. So if the yearly rate is 2.4%, so if something costs $1, the price of it actually went up 3 cents. Really? If something costs $100, it went up $3. That's 3%. So if something costs $100, it went up $2.40. That's the rate of inflation. Okay. Both figures were slightly cooler than expected of economists polled by LSEG, who predicted a 0.3% monthly gain and a 2.5% increase from a year ago. So, president can beat expectations and he still fails. I don't get it. They just want him to fail no matter what. No matter what. They cannot stand Donald J. Trump being our president. They want us to fail. They want us to live in poverty and taxes to where we have no money available to buy groceries, nice cars, buy a beautiful house, or whatever. Our kids being able to do the same thing that we're able to do, they don't want none of it. None of it at all. Okay. So did I go off on a whim? So basically what I'm going to talk to you about is prices are getting better because the cost of inflation is going down. Okay, the inflation rate is going down, which helps us all. All right. A soda that costs $2 will only go up a nickel in 1 year. That's the consumer price, okay? About. They drive me nuts. All right. So while we're talking about money, here's another one. So we're expected. So you hear Democrats saying, spend, spend, spend. You even hear some Republicans, spend, spend, spend. We got to spend money. We got to keep spending money. No, you got to spend money on what you need, not what you want. All right? The U.S. national debt is on pace to break a record set after World War II in 4 years, while the annual budget deficits are projected to balloon to $3 trillion a year a decade from now, according to a new analysis by the Congress Financial Watchdog. The nonpartisan Congressional Budget Office released a budget and economic outlook spanning the next decade, which projected the federal budget deficits will rise from an estimated $1.9 trillion. I can't even fathom that. The defense budget is only going to be $1.5 trillion in fiscal year 2026 to $3.1 trillion in 2036. You can't keep spending that kind of money. Mounting budget deficits will push national debt higher, with the gross federal debt rising from $39.4 trillion. Are you ready for this? To $63 trillion in 2036. The U.S. debt is the publicly held the U.S. debt is held by public is estimated to rise from to 108% gross domestic product in 2030, which would surpass 106% set 1946, as the U.S. was in the process of demobilization after the end of World War II. A decade from now, I hope you're sitting down for this one, the debt held by the public is going to be by percentage projected at 120% of GDP. Oh my goodness, man. We won't survive. I'll be dead by then, hopefully, and I won't have to experience what we're going to go through as a country. Making the physical, Say something in the chat if this distresses you also, because I do not know how we're going to survive. This is crazy. Making the fiscal picture even worse, I don't know how worse it could even get. The CBO estimates the debt held by the public expected to grow faster than U.S. GDP as projected in the years ahead, which could have far-reaching implications for the nation's fiscal and economic outlook. It explained that could slow economic growth and reduce private investment while hiking interest costs from servicing the debt. The United States fiscal position would be more vulnerable to an increase in interest rates because the larger the debt is, the more of an increase in interest rates, debt servicing costs. The risk of a fiscal crisis, that is, a situation in which investors lose confidence in the value of U.S. government debt, would increase. Such a crisis would cause interest rates to rise abruptly and other economic and financial disruptions to occur. Oh my goodness, man. So, what do y'all think about that? Do you think we could sustain $63 trillion debt in the year 2036? $63 trillion. That's 10 years from now. Man, I probably will be alive because I'll be 67 years old. Oh my goodness, we got to do something about this. I mean, they go and they say free, free, free. Everything is free. Keep making everything free. But they're not telling people the gravity of the cost of what it will take. Because a lot of us understand the moment you institute a government program, it is so hard to terminate such a program. And all we're doing is killing our country. Because servicing the debt right now, the interest rates are about 6%. Do you want to go back up to 10% or 11%? We could never afford the interest on that debt ever, at all. Where the interest we're paying now is like $800 billion a year, if not more. We've got to change. That's why we need conservatives that will maintain conservative values to be in the House and the Senate and in the presidency and maintain that so our kids and our grandkids and our great-grandkids will have something to have for themselves years down the road. If not, we'll just be owned by another country. Monetarily and probably physically, because that can happen. Don't believe me. If you don't. At this point, I don't care. I'm tired of us mortgaging our future away to China and other countries, and they have direct influence everything. Because if we owe them $3 trillion, and they said, you know what, we're going to call our loan. Don't institute that tariff policy, and we'll see what happens. Okay. Next, I was talking about this guy earlier, James Boasberg. So he made a ruling, said alleged members of the foreign terrorist cartel TDA, Tren de Aragua, may be brought back to the U.S. after the deportations in 2025, and it would come at taxpayer expense. So we deport illegal aliens and gangsters, right, back to Venezuela, and now we got to pay for their ticket to bring them back to the United States at our dime. U.S. District Judge James Boasberg, an activist judge, they didn't put that in there, who has repeatedly butted heads with the Trump administration, ordered the Trump administration Thursday to facilitate the return of 137 migrants deported to a notorious prison in El Salvador, CCOT. Oh, that's that big prison. Boasberg stipulated that his ruling that the government pay for the migrants' airfare back to the U.S., meaning taxpayers are likely to footing the bill. Boasberg argued that it is unclear why plaintiffs should bear the cost to return in such of an instance, noting that the situation would never have arisen had the government simply afforded plaintiffs their constitutional rights before initially deporting them. The ruling comes nearly after a year-long saga to which the federal judge attempted to halt Trump administration's deportation of migrants or legal aliens to El Salvador or criminals under the Alien Enemies Act of March 2025. I'm tired of reading about this guy. This guy needs to be impeached in the House and convicted in the Senate and removed from office. He does not understand. You know what? If he would spend as much time convicting criminals and holding trial to convict criminals and get them off the street than he does doing administrative rulings and thumbing his nose at the Trump administration, we'd have a different court system. We'd have more of these criminals deported out of our country, and it'd be safer for your wife and kids to walk down the street, and you not have to worry about them. So, yeah, James Boasberg is but I think it was Pam Bondi said it's going to be appealed. So, hopefully he loses, but that's not his call in the first place. They were told no more nationwide injunctions. He's doing it again. They don't care. They don't care. But I bet that if the same thing happened to a Democrat, they would never come back to this country. They would be shipped out and no one ever hear from them again. They'd send them to Diego Garcia with no boat. I'm not even going to get through all this. Oh, man. Ooh. What do I read now? That's not important. Nah, it's not really important. The president signed an executive order getting rid of a lot of the cafe standards and that little stupid switch beside your gear shift where the engine automatically turns on and off when you come to a stoplight, which is good. If you have a stick shift, you know that doesn't work because it won't, because it only works with automatic transmissions. They are cutting 600 regulations in 1 year to save billions of dollars. See, that's how you cut the deficit. Cut the spending. Don't cut the rate of spending, cut the spending. The 2009 developmental on the EPA ruling that carbon monoxide, methane, nitrous oxide, and 3 other greenhouse gases are endanger public health, in which they really aren't. An ensuing Supreme Court ruling, Massachusetts versus EPA, found greenhouse gases qualify as air pollutants. No, they don't. And then Lee Zeldin said, as I traveled across all 50 states last year, I heard that countless Americans not only dislike the motor vehicle start-stop feature, but passionately advocated for the mechanism to be a thing of the past. Right? I agree. Every time I turn on my vehicle, we have a Chevy Traverse, and it has it in it, 2023. So that's gone. And then what does he say about cafe standards? Okay, we'll go somewhere else. We're running out of time. Man, sounds like I need to do a special report or just go on. Okay, so that's where I'm at right now. Okay, so, oh, right there. So I know not to come back to it. All right, so while I'm at it, let's see. This is a good one right here. Our Attorney General, Ken Paxton, has stepped into a legal battle against the Texas Medical Board, siding with Dr. Mary Talley Bowden and asking a Travis County court to declare the board's public reprimand against her void. In a petition filed Thursday, Paxton accused the board of acting on nothing more than a personal animosity and spite when it disciplined Bowden over a 2021 attempt to administer ivermectin to a hospitalized COVID-19 patient. Rather than defend the Texas Medical Board, Paxton's office is intervening in the support of Bowden. The filing asked the court to reverse the reprimand and permanently block the board from taking action again against her related to the case. I will not stand by as Dr. Bowden has her constitutional rights trampled and the ability to serve her patients impeded with an illegal reprimand, Paxton said. Dr. Bowden has been a champion for health reform, health freedom, selflessly served her patients, and acted in full accordance with the law. The dispute from November 2021 incident involves COVID-19 patient at Hughley Hospital, that is in Eversman, who was on a ventilator, because you can see it from I-35, and in a medically induced coma. The patient family obtained a temporary injunction from a state district court ordering the hospital to grant Bowden emergency privilege to administer ivermectin. Later that same day, however, a court of appeals stayed that order. According to the state filing, Bowden was not a party to that proceeding and was never notified of the stay. Believing the injunction remained in effect, Bowden sent a nurse to the hospital. Staff refused entry and law enforcement was called. The medical board later determined Bowden engaged in unprofessional conduct by attempting to treat a patient at a facility where she lacked privileges. It issued a public reprimand, a disciplinary mark that remains permanently on her record. In its intervention, the state argues the reprimand fails as a matter of law and asserts the board violated both statutory requirements and constitutional protections. In the petition, the Attorney General argues the reprimand cannot stand as a matter of the law. According to the filing, the board imposed disciplinary discipline without presenting any medical expert testimony to support its conclusion that Bowden's actions harmed or even risked harming the public. So I'm pretty sure Attorney General Paxton is going to win this one. If you didn't know, if you're watching me, he is actually running for the United States Senate here in Texas against John Cornyn. All right. So I'll take that one off. If y'all heard about the Colony Ridge development over by Conroe, Texas, it's what they were saying, it was a development that was made for Hispanics and legal aliens to move there. Some development, but it was investigated, and now They are, I think it came from the Attorney General's office. Hold on, let me close out that one. Bring that one up. Colony Ridge must verify buyer's legal status in settlement with the Department of Justice in Texas. So if you buy a house in Colony Ridge down in Conroe, you are required to verify that you are a United States citizen, right? So, and I'll just read the first paragraph. A sweeping settlement between the state of Texas, the federal government, and Colony Ridge will require buyers in the controversial Liberty County development to present Texas-issued identification and valid immigration documents, effectively shutting down further direct land sales to individuals unlawfully present in the United States. Maybe they'll take the same judgment up to Collin County and Kaufman County and prevent Epic from being built. All right, or Epic 2. All right. Okay. And we have an Attorney General actually doing his job. And then I can Congressman Ronnie Jackson up in the north part of Texas has filed federal legislation to work in conjunction with the state of Texas to eradicate any evidence of the screwworm. So if you were wondering what is happening with the price of beef, well, the price of beef is skyrocketing because we cannot import any ground beef from Mexico because it's and we don't have enough here in the United States because the Biden administration had us dwindle down our herds, but they have a parasite called the screwworm, which is like a fly or something like that, and they are trying to keep it from coming across our border into Texas and devastating our cattle industry. So Congressman Jackson has filed federal legislation to it's a flesh-eating pest. All right, so if you did not know. All right, so let's see. We talked about that one and that one, and that one. I think we got all of the Texas scorecard stuff. If you don't already get the Texas Minute daily at 6 a.m. From the Texas scorecard, you really should subscribe. Okay, it's worth it. Okay, what time we got? It's 1:02. All right, so we're gonna start tailoring down. So for our elections, which start next week. Oh, I know what I was going to do today. Oh my goodness, I'll do it on Monday. Our propositions for the state of Texas. All right, so early vote starts on the 17th. Through the 27th of February. In Coryell County, where I live at, we have 2 polling stations. We have one up in Gatesville, and then we have one here in Copper's Cove. It's over by the El Corral restaurant. And then primary day is Tuesday, March 3rd. And then the runoff, if there's a runoff in your race, it's Tuesday, May 26th. All right? And then let me go back here, and I verified with our county Republican chair, Norm Mitchell, about the Lincoln Reagan dinner when the shutoff is for buying tickets. He said you can actually buy tickets at the door as long as it's not sold out. But to keep it from being waiting till the last second, being disappointed, right? I hate for you to take a date to go listen to Dan Patrick and you show up and said, "I'm sorry, sir, but we're sold out." So we have tickets are $60 a person or $100 a couple. We do have tables available. Use that QR code right there in the bottom left-hand screen. Scan it with your cell phone, and you can buy your tickets. Or at the same time, you can go to the show notes I have over here on the podcast, and there's a URL at the bottom that says Coppers Cove a GOP Lincoln Reagan dinner link. And you click on that and you can buy your tickets there also. All right? So it's February 21st, 6 p.m. in Gatesville at the Texas Station Event Center. And it is a really cool place, right? It's really cool. So any last questions from anyone in the chat before we sign off for the weekend? Get our weekend going. Remember, tomorrow is Valentine's Day. All right? Just a couple of other things I forgot to mention. The president is right now, he's at Fort Bragg. I think I did mention that one earlier. Crew 12 with the Dragon capsule launched this morning from Cape Canaveral, going to the International Space Station. It lifted off at 5:15 Eastern this morning from Cape Canaveral. And then on a sad note, a friend of mine that I knew when I was with the White House, and then years later, his name is First Sergeant Eric Campbell. He passed away last night from pancreatic cancer. Please keep his family in your prayers. He was a really nice guy. He was a conservative, and he was a really nice guy, and I believe he was a pretty faithful person. He was awesome to be around. But we lost him last night. He was, I think he was like 51 years old. I think he was. But yeah, keep his family in your prayers. So we are getting almost to the end. We've been on 1 hour and 6 minutes, people. All right, so So if you want to find me on my socials, you can find me on X at James Pierce Jr., Facebook at James A. Pierce Jr. You can find me on YouTube at JP8 Report 67 and on True Social at James A. Pierce. All right. So with that being said, I am done for the day and for the week. I'm going to recover. I got to do some computer stuff. I do apologize for sneezing. I am so sorry. Wow. All right. So let's go ahead and sign off. All right. So this is James Pierce with the JP8 Report. I'll catch you on the flip side. I'm out. There we go. See y'all later. Y'all have a great weekend.